Did you know that the way you breathe at night could be silently tricking your brain into thinking you're in danger, causing you to wake up again and again even when nothing else is wrong? Not noise, not light, but breath itself. Something so natural, yet quietly disrupting sleep for thousands of women over 60. A study from Stanford University found that over 60% of older adults begin mouth breathing during sleep, especially post-menopause, when airway structure, muscle tone, and nervous system reflexes all start to shift. They don't notice it, but the brain does, and every time it senses air coming through the mouth instead of the nose, it triggers a stress response, raising your heart rate, shortening your sleep cycles, and stealing the rest your body so desperately needs. If this feels familiar, you're not imagining it. It's easy to blame aging for everything that changes in our bodies. But in truth, not everything that shifts after 60 is simply age. Sometimes it's the quiet accumulation of stress, posture, hormone loss, and habits that once worked for us until they didn't. As we get older, especially as women pass through menopause, the muscle tone in the throat and soft palate naturally weakens. The tissues that once held firm now become looser. The tongue sits differently. Even the way the jaw relaxes during sleep can subtly shift, pulling the mouth open ever so slightly. And here's where it matters. Nose breathing and mouth breathing don't affect the brain the same way. When you breathe through your nose, the air is filtered, warmed, and humidified. But more importantly, nasal breathing triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your brain responsible for calm, for digestion, for rest. It says, you're safe now, you can let go. But mouth breathing does the opposite. Even when it's soft, even when it seems harmless, it stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, the stress side, the get up and run side. And for a woman lying in the dark at 2:30 in the morning, that one unconscious signal can be enough to pull her from deep sleep into shallow awareness, again and again. I once spoke with a retired violinist in Winnipeg. Her name was Lillian. She told me she used to fall asleep easily, but always woke up alert, like something was wrong. Just an hour or two later, she thought it was hormones, then stress, then age. But it wasn't until she attended a sleep study, at the gentle insistence of her daughter, that they noticed something she'd never realized. She was mouth-breathing the entire night. The machines showed it clearly. Each time her jaw dropped open, her sleep cycle shifted. Her brain stirred. Sometimes she'd fully wake, sometimes not. But either way, her rest was broken. If this is your first time hearing about how mouth breathing affects sleep, comment "breath matters" below. You'd be surprised how many women are going through the same thing, quietly, night after night. Because here's the hardest part. Most people have no idea they're doing it. Mouth breathing doesn't always come with snoring or gasping. It can be totally silent, but its effects are real. Memory fog, morning exhaustion, that constant feeling like you almost slept, but never quite got there. And the longer it goes on, the more the body forgets how to truly settle down. I met Helen 2 winters ago at a small community workshop near Victoria. She was 72, a retired school teacher with silvery white hair and the kind of voice that makes you want to sit down and listen. The topic that day was sleep, and midway through the session, she raised her hand softly and said, "I don't remember the last time I felt rested. I go to bed early. I wake up at least twice, and I don't know why." She wasn't in pain. She wasn't drinking caffeine late. She didn't feel particularly anxious. But every night, her sleep broke, like a thread snapping, just as she'd begun to settle into it. One of the facilitators asked a question, "Do you ever wake up with a dry mouth?" Helen blinked. "Almost every morning." That moment changed everything for her. She didn't know what mouth breathing did to her brain, her nervous system, her sleep cycles. No one had ever explained how something so natural, so automatic, could be working against her. But once she started paying attention, she saw it clearly. She would lie down, read for a bit, and fall asleep peacefully. But sometime during the night, her jaw would slacken, her lips part just enough, and from then on, her body would never quite descend into deep rest. What really surprised her, though, was what it felt like the next day. Not just tired, but numb emotionally, like her edges had been dulled, like her sense of self was out of reach. And when she told me that, I remembered something I'd read in a 2022 sleep neurology review. Disrupted deep sleep in older women correlates with lower emotional regulation and higher inflammatory markers. In plain terms, when our breathing short-circuits our sleep, our brains get foggier and our bodies inflamed, even if we think we've been in bed long enough. It isn't just about how many hours we sleep, it's about how deeply we're able to go. And nasal breathing, quiet and steady, is what gently pulls us into that depth. Helen didn't try to fix everything overnight. She started small, just becoming aware. She noticed her jaw relaxing during TV shows, her mouth slightly open when she sat quietly. That awareness was step one. And once she knew, she could begin to retrain her body to do what it had forgotten. Breathe in through the nose, slowly, safely. And the shift didn't just come at night. She said one afternoon, weeks later, I didn't cry when my grandson left after his visit, not because I didn't feel sad, but because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel overwhelmed by it. My heart could hold the moment without drowning in it. That's what deep sleep does. It gives our hearts room to feel things fully, but not break under them. If that resonates with you, share your experience in the comments. Even something as simple as, "That's how I feel too." You never know who might feel less alone because you said it. There's another woman I think about often, Judith. She was a retired paramedic, strong-willed, fiercely independent, lived alone in the outskirts of Ontario. She wasn't interested in gentle fixes, as she put it. She wanted hard facts. So we talked science. I showed her research from the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine, which found that nasal breathing improves oxygen saturation, reduces nighttime cortisol spikes, and increases stability during the rapid eye movement phase of sleep in older adults. Judith nodded once and said, "Fine, how do I stop breathing through my mouth?" She tried mouth tape, not the kind that glues your lips shut, but a gentle strip that sits across the lips to encourage nasal breathing. The first night felt strange. The second felt calmer. By the fifth night, she wrote me an email. "I had dreams again. I don't think I dreamed in years." Dreams are a marker of sleep depth. When we lose them, it's often a sign we're hovering in lighter stages, never reaching the rapid eye movement phase. Judith didn't just start sleeping better. She started remembering herself. Because when sleep returns, so does everything else. Clarity, patience, joy. And sometimes it starts with the smallest thing, like reminding the body what it once knew instinctively, to breathe gently through the nose. There is a moment, I think, that comes to many women later in life, usually sometime after the house is emptied, after the calendar gets quieter, after the rhythm of the day is no longer shaped by other people's needs. It often comes in the middle of the night. You wake up, not startled, not afraid, but aware. Aware that the room is silent. Aware that your body feels tired, but your spirit unsettled. Not for any dramatic reason, not because something is wrong, but because something is missing. And sometimes that something is rest. True, bone deep rest. The kind that lets you exhale, not just physically, but emotionally. The kind that doesn't just shut your eyes, but quiets the thoughts behind them. But here's what no one tells you. When sleep is broken, our emotional resilience is too. Aging isn't just about aching joints or memory slips. It's about carrying more weight inside, with fewer places to set it down. And if our nights are filled with shallow breathing, stress signals, and restless wake-ups, then our days become harder to meet. Even the smallest frustrations feel heavier. Our joy dulls, our patience thins. One woman wrote to me after a recent video and said, "I used to feel like I had a core, a quiet, steady place inside myself, but I haven't felt that in years. I think I lost it when my sleep started unraveling." Her words broke something open in me, because what she was really saying wasn't just that she was tired. She was saying she felt untethered, disconnected from her own center. And for many women over 60, women who spent their lives holding things together for others, this disconnection feels like betrayal. The body that once moved without asking now resists. The nights that once restored now leave us hollow. The silence once peaceful now echoes. But sometimes, healing begins with the smallest kindness to ourselves, not a pill, not a perfect plan, just a moment of saying, "This is no longer working for me, but I can learn something new, even now." And that's the turning point. Because once you realize that your body isn't broken, it's just responding to patterns, it becomes easier to believe that new patterns can be taught. That even something as simple as gently closing the mouth, breathing through the nose, support the nervous system, can ripple out in ways far beyond sleep. It's not about being young again. It's about being whole again. And the path back to wholeness doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from listening, from observing, from letting the body remember what rest once felt like and trusting it enough to return. So tonight, if you find yourself waking in the dark again, before you reach for your phone, before you sigh and turn over, just notice, how are you breathing? Are your lips slightly parted? Is the air cold against your tongue? If so, don't be hard on yourself. Just notice. Because in that small noticing, something shifts. That's how change often begins after 60, not with force, but with attention, with a soft awareness that says, my body is not against me. It's just asking for something different now. And maybe over time, that simple shift in breath could be what helps you stay asleep longer, dream deeper, wake softer, and meet your day not with dread, but with a steadiness that says, I'm still here. I still matter. If any part of today's story echoed something inside you, leave a comment, even just a few words. We read them. We hold them with care. And if something in this video felt like a quiet reminder you needed, maybe consider joining us here on Elderly Seasons. This is a space where your breath, your rest, your story still count.